Michael, I'm going to come to you on this one. So this is the question we're asking everyone on this series, and obviously we've been talking about it throughout the episode so far. How can a company get started to successfully shift from a focus on jobs to instead of focus on skills? Are there, you've talked about some of the things that people can do, such as making sure they start with the why, what they're trying to achieve, and look at that lowest hanging fruit, and taking small chunks of the apple at a time rather than thinking it as an enterprise thing right from the off. But are there examples of companies that you've worked with or you've seen that are doing this well?
Yeah, a great question. And I'll just go through some examples because I think we've talked a lot around steps through here, and I think the audience can take definitely from those steps. So let me just throw out some examples there. We've worked with Cargill over the past few years to create to become skills-based, parallel pathing their transformation for L&D to become skills-based in partnership with their digital-first learning strategy, and then moving into skills-based hiring, building up a talent marketplace. And as they did that, as I said, they really worked on those hub elements: the taxonomy, the ontology for data, the business strategy and vision. The CLO who owned a lot of this transformation basically walked around with a 2-page deck and created a video for sort of the value of the exercise as she moved through these different talent processes. The second example, financial services organization, working on job architecture. Their particular business leader who was in charge of this really sort of on the side of the desk said, I know this is going to be a transformational journey for us, but let's put skills into this job architecture work and start mapping skills to jobs as we build out our job architecture and to create change. And it was a change management journey to do that project that way, and started the journey. And then they're looking at other talent processes as they do that. A life sciences organization, they focused on really becoming a skills-based organization and starting with the philosophy and the value proposition first. And they created a skills-based mapping playbook, essentially mapping the skills ontology and proficiency levels to learning objectives. So again, moving to learning, but they did start with the sort of business case value proposition, etc. philosophy first. And then at the same time, they looked at hot skills, or those skills in demand or short supply, and built some talent processes around those hot skills. They are looking at across the talent process, but again, that's how they started. And then you mentioned it earlier, and I think it is a great example, Unilever. And I think Unilever is the example where they talk about focusing on work, really democratizing work into sort of a way that can think about as the demand. So as you think about moving towards the idea of a marketplace, which is a key component of Unilever's journey with a particular technology provider, they ultimately were looking at external and internal external workers in that marketplace. They talked about the U worker, which is a worker that's a guaranteed minimum retainer along with core sets of benefits. And that's a key component here. They get benefits as well. I think this has been written about quite extensively. But when we look at that case, they are looking at understanding the supply element of work. So, the demand element of work, and then supply element of skills, and mapping that together. And that absolute element of finding out how to put, which there was a key component of that, when they looked about projects, tasks, and deliverables, and how to put that into a sort of element of demand, and then collection of skills rather than jobs as supply, was a key component of their success. And they identified more than 80,000 tasks that need to be done over the next 5 years that could be formed by a combination of full-time gig, contractors, etc. So as you identify that work and then map the skills to it, there's absolutely a compelling business case and multiple elements of talent processes and business impacts that you can then put towards C-suite and then get more funding for additional areas. So those are just a few. We've got multiple different ways. As you can see, there's aspects of different talent processes, but ultimately you do need to get to the core of the apple as you take bites at building that skills hub and create that taxonomy, that digital strategy, and the change management and business execution as you do it.
In this series, we will be speaking to a range of senior leaders who are pushing a data-driven and digital HR agenda. Make sure that you subscribe via your podcast app of choice and also via our YouTube channel for free and regular interviews with the digital HR leaders of the future.